going on, guys? Welcome back to the Dispatch, episode 5. This is the weekly live show where I break down the most interesting headlines in the world of film and physical media. And so let's just get right into it. I've got some headlines for you guys tonight. And this one's not so much a headline, I guess. It's not really news in the conventional sense, but I did find this kind of funny. So I want to talk about this because this is kind of like something that people have been talking about as far as this movie's concerned for ever since it came out. So Marion Cotillard, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. She reflects on her death scene in The Dark Knight Rises. I couldn't find the right position. I was stressed. Sometimes it happens. We screw something up, and this I screwed up. So I'm going to play this without sound, just in case anyone's not familiar. It's kind of like it feels like a parody of somebody. Like this is how somebody would die in like a scary movie. Um, and listen, the thing about this is like, what up? How you doing, brother? The thing with this is like, it's it's kind of a goofy death, right? But I think it's been blown like way out of proportion, and it's something that people like to rag on and make fun of. But I don't really blame her because like, just do another take. I'm sure they had multiple takes. Like I think the person who gave this approval for like the final cut is more to be blamed here. Like it's not really her fault that they just happened to use the absolute worst take that they could have used. So, if anything, I feel I'm kind of sad that she felt like this was something that she had to apologize for, because that to me is a little silly. But this isn't really news. It's just kind of something that I thought was funny. So hopefully we can stop discussing this and just move forward as a society. Here we have a lot of these articles, by the way. I keep forgetting to do this. I want to shout out Discussing Film. This is mostly where like 90% of our headlines come from, is the Discussing Film Twitter page. So shout out Discussing Film. So this article says that Coleman Domingo says he talked to Marvel about the rumors of him replacing Jonathan Majors as Kang in the MCU. And I agree with what he says here. He says, I want a role to be mine, whatever that role is, whatever I develop, meaning he's developing this character over the course of several movies. Something didn't feel right of me, like, oh, I replaced someone. And I agree. What I don't necessarily get excited about is the idea of someone like Coleman Domingo being caught up in the Marvel machine. I've kind of expressed my feelings on that before, just how it kind of tends to suck someone up for an extended period of time and kind of it could potentially deny them the opportunity to do more interesting films. That's just my opinion. But to play devil's advocate, the Marvel would be lucky to have someone of his caliber. So, it could be looked at either way, I suppose. And then there's this whole thing about replacing Jonathan Majors. That's going off the assumption that he's even going to be a force in the MCU going forward. Like, it's not it's not unprecedented for Marvel to recast people. They've done it before. They did it with the Hulk, who's like a main Avenger. They've done it with, War Machine. Is that his name? Anthony Mackie and Don Cheadle. I think it's War Machine. But yeah, I don't know. I think it would just be distracting, because we as the audience would just know, like, with this particular case, like everyone who's been recasted before, to my knowledge, it was over like, money disputes, or they just didn't want to do the role anymore or something like that. This is more like, hey, everyone knows this guy got fired and now we're just going to cast someone else. So like now there's like a stink around the role so much as there is the person. Like, So as an actor, if I was an actor, obviously I'm not, but if I was, I wouldn't want to take on this role that has this negative kind of negative, stink on it, so to speak. But yeah, that's that. I'm curious what's going to happen with Kang going forward. I'm really curious about that. Let's see. Let me move this here. Every week we got Odyssey casting news. Tyler, what's up, dog? We got more Odyssey casting news. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know these guys. I don't know their work, but we got Jesse Garcia and Will Yun Lee. So yeah, if you've been following the Dispatch, then you know, or just news in general, then you know that this cast is getting more and more stacked across the board. Yeah, I agree for the most part. I mean, I could be proven wrong, and I'm open to be proving wrong in the future. But since 2019, they've just been kind of spinning their wheels. So yeah, if you're familiar with either of these gentlemen, they are in the Odyssey. Last week, I'm pretty sure we reported on the fact that Mia Goth might not be in the Odyssey. Like that was just a rumor or something, or that she was offered the role but she had to decline. Apparently, no, she is 100% now cast in this film as of Valentine's Day, so 2 days ago. So good news for you Mia Goth fans out there. People are speculating that she's going to play like a siren or something like that, which seems on the nose, but also I wouldn't be upset by that. So yeah, the Odyssey's looking stacked. Let's see here. This comes to us from Star Wars Explained. Daisy Ridley says she is very involved in production for the upcoming Star Wars New Jedi Order film in a recent Collider interview. Okay, that's cool. We got a little excerpt here. I don't know that I'd be a producer on it, but I certainly have been very involved. I'm involved in, well, not very involved, but I'm involved in as much as I know what's going on. Jesus, this is like word salad. I know the story. I know what's going on with the script, so I'm aware of all that. I think what's been really wonderful over the last few years is being more involved from the start to finish, really coming to set knowing this is the absolute best way we can tell this story, blah, blah, blah. So it sounds like she's kind of taking a direct shot at the way that the sequel trilogy is handled, because this seems like it's very much the antithesis of that. So I'm sure she didn't want to go down that road again, having felt the backlash from that probably more than anyone, being the star. Yeah, whatever. I'll believe that this movie's real when I see a trailer. You know, we've had more Star Wars movies announced and canceled in the last 5 years than have actually, been greenlit, like to the point where they're actually rolling cameras and they have a script and they actually have a director. You know, same with Marvel to a lesser extent, but like Star Wars is so famous for like being like, yo, we're doing this, and then it just never happens. So we'll see. Jumping back over to Marvel here. Avengers Doomsday will begin filming next month. So yeah, I mean, if anything's gonna get me more excited about the state of Marvel and like get me in a theater to see a Marvel movie again, it'll be this. It'll be this, because like, let's be honest, the Avengers movies for the most part are the best in the MCU. You've got your outliers like your Guardians of the Galaxies and what have you, but I think it all really comes together. Obviously, I don't think this is even a hot take, but it all comes together when, like you see in this image, everyone's here together, working together, or fighting, whatever the case is. And I'm really, really interested to see how they handle Robert Downey coming back as Doctor Doom, and just how they're gonna do that. I'm really, really curious about that. So, is Doomsday them trying to run it back to Endgame? What do you mean by that? Like, I don't know what you mean exactly. But yeah, so this will be part one, I guess, of a two. I think Secret Wars is after this, or I don't know. I don't remember if they. It's just the next Avengers in the story. That's all. It's not like a spiritual successor necessarily. I mean, I guess I don't know if that's the word I would use. It's just the next installment in the story, like in the timeline. They're bringing back Robert Downey. That reeks of a little bit of desperation. So I guess it's the successor in that sense, but he's playing a different role and all that stuff. So, um, this comes to us from Variety. Wes Anderson's next film, The Phoenician Scheme, gets May release date. That's not too far from now. We should get a trailer for this probably sometime soon. So if you're a Wes Anderson guy, I'm in the middle on Wes. No, this will be the first Avengers since Endgame. They tend to wait a while. They do a lot of setup shit between them, which is probably how you should do it. The problem is the setup stuff since Endgame has not been interesting to anyone, or at least not to me. I don't want to speak for everyone, but yeah, I'm hit or miss on Wes Anderson. Like some of his movies really connect with me, and then others just I don't really get into. But so we got more Wes Anderson in the pipeline. Moving right along. This I'm actually excited for. I will say, Mortal Kombat 2. A lot of people aren't excited about the casting of Carl Urban as Johnny Cage. A lot of people were wanting somebody like a Glenn Powell, or someone like that. But I'm down. I'm down for it. I'm glad this is actually getting a sequel because the first one very much sets up for another one. But all too often you see that being the case with movies, and then they just never get a sequel. So then the movie has this sort of awkward ending. And this was also the first one was also like a COVID movie. So I'm really glad that we're getting a Mortal Kombat 2. Because spoiler alert, they don't actually have the Mortal Kombat tournament in the first Mortal Kombat. It was more set up for this sequel. So, yeah. And I thought the movie was cool. It wasn't like it didn't knock my socks off or anything, but I thought there was a lot of potential there because it was very gory. It is R rated, and they kind of go for it with the fatalities and all that good stuff. More Odyssey news. I forgot to do this with the other Odyssey news. This is sick. The Polyphemus Cyclops scenes in the Odyssey will reportedly be filmed at Nestor's Cave in Greece with a 6 by 6 meter mechanical anthropomorphic puppet built inside the cave. So this is just fucking sick. Let me see. I want to see what does Nestor's Cave actually look like? Okay, this looks dope. This is cool. All right, dope. Yeah, I mean, look, this movie's gonna rip. Nolan is I don't the crazy thing about Nolan is like yeah, Royal Tenenbaums I need to rewatch. It's been a long time. Moonrise Kingdom probably my favorite. Allie, what's up? Thank you for being here on this lovely Sunday night. What do you mean by this? What do you mean? What is that asterisk? Oh yeah, practical effects. Yeah, this is. I mean, it's going to be dope. The crazy thing about Nolan, though, as I was saying, is that like prior to Oppenheimer, I feel like some people might have said like, "Oh, he's kind of peaked," but I think Nolan like hasn't even. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I feel like Nolan hasn't even begun to peak, dude. Like his trajectory has just kind of only been up. Like those Batman movies were sick. Interstellar, I think, is his best movie. and then Oppenheimer, obviously Best Picture, all these the Oscar darling, and now he's like, all right, I'm gonna follow that up with a fucking. I would hazard a guess this movie will. I would bet almost everything I own that this movie will not be under 3 hours. This movie's going to be at least 3 hours, if not longer. This thing's going to be epic. It's going to be really, really crazy. Are you saying you've never seen Dunkirk and Tenet? Because I've seen those movies. Okay. I like those movies. I like both of those movies. I think they're both good. I need to rewatch them both. I've only seen them both one time each, though. So yeah, I'm super excited I think everyone's excited for the Odyssey at this point in time. This is kind of funny. This comes to us from Culture Crave. Taylor Lautner will star in the Amazon series Taylor Lautner Werewolf Hunter. So essentially what this is this is like a meta movie or show, I guess. Yeah, it's a series where after wrapping the final Twilight film, Taylor Lautner vanished from the spotlight, but apparently he is recruited by an actual secret society of werewolf trackers who need his expertise actually killing werewolves, which is I don't really understand how that would come into play, because in the movie he's playing a werewolf, so I don't see how that would help make him a good werewolf hunter. Regardless, this seems like a fun kind of, obviously this is very like tongue-in-cheek, kind of addressing the fact that his career didn't take off the same way that Kristen Stewart's and Robert Pattinson's did. Him being the kind of odd man out in that triangle where he didn't reach those same heights as them following Twilight. So I think it's a very self-aware sort of thing, and it's like kind of a fun premise, but I mean, this does nothing for me. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, I thought that was kind of odd. All right. So I'm also going to look this up real quick. First Dumbledore in the movies. Richard Harris. Okay. How old was Richard Harris when he died? Oh, he was only 72. Okay. All right. So the reason I'm looking that up is because John Lithgow is in final talks to star as Dumbledore in the Harry Potter TV series. So I like John Lithgow. I think he's cool. I think he's a great actor, obviously. But the problem is this right here. Bro is 79. And this is going to be a TV show that minimum 7 years, 7 seasons, 7 years. But we all know it's going to take like 2 years between seasons. So like minimum, this show is going to take 14 years. They haven't even gone to camera yet. And John Lithgow is almost he's almost 80. So I just foresee a Richard Harris situation where they're going to have to recast like midway through or something like that. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know how this is going to work. Yeah, I feel like they're not learning from their mistake here. I was just going to look something up, but I totally blanked. Yeah, I don't want to be morbid or anything, but my point is that when you cast someone in a role that is supposed to go, it's not just a single film. Like, this is a TV show that's going to take a long time to make. They're adapting each book, and presumably there will be 7 seasons. And the way TV's produced nowadays, it's going to be like 2-year downtime, maybe a year and a half if they really, put their nose to the grindstone. it's going to be like it's going to be a long commitment. And I'm not saying that John Lithgow couldn't live to be 100. He very well could. Oh, this is what I was going to look up. I just remembered. Mark Rylance was being considered for the role, and Mark Rylance is only 65. I like him for this role. I think he would have been great. I think he's a really underrated actor too, by the way. So Mark Rylance would have been my pick because there was rumors that he was going to be cast in this role. I thought he was perfect. He's not too old. He's also not too young. So I mean, obviously with makeup and everything, you could very much make him look like Dumbledore. So not to be morbid or anything, but I just don't know if Lithgow's the way to go here. But that's just my opinion. This is I feel like we talked about this last week actually, but we can talk about it. This might be a follow-up to an article we talked about last week. HBO expects Last of Us to be 4 seasons long. I think that's a good place to stop. But then you have to wonder, because they said season 2 is adapting the second game, and they said that could be at least 2 seasons. So let's say season 2 and 3 of Last of Us is covering Last of Us 2. Is season 4 then, because it's been rumored that, we're going to get a Last of Us 3. Last of Us 3. Okay, so I mean, I don't know if this game has been like... All right, so as of a month ago, according to this Reddit user, which, take that with a grain of salt, but it's 100% in development. So, like, and I think the second one was so popular that it seems like a foregone conclusion to assume that we will probably get a Last of Us 3, the game. Excuse me. So then you have to wonder, will the third game just be what season 4 is? And if that's the case, if the second game, this is so difficult to talk about with all the numbers and everything, but if the second game is worth making into 2 seasons, then wouldn't it follow that the third game will likely also be worthy of 2 seasons? So then you have to wonder, are they going to try to condense that? And this isn't ironclad. Obviously, he's saying he expects it to be, but it's not a guarantee. What's up, Perp Minded? How you doing? Just talking a little bit about The Last of Us. Yeah, so I haven't played Last of Us 2, but apparently it's a much bigger game than the first game. So apparently, with that in mind, it stands to reason that you could make 2 seasons of television around that bigger game. But if that's the case, then one also has to assume that the third game will be pretty long as well, because I feel like with the nature of sequels, you kind of tend to scale up. You're not going to be going down. So, I just want them to do it justice, because I really like that first season of the show. The finale being shorter seems anticlimactic. I mean, it could very much be like an epilogue sort of thing, where maybe it's not as grand in scale as the second game. I don't know. I haven't played it yet, but that very well could be the case too, where it's kind of like, wrapping things up, and it could be a really tight, cohesive trilogy. Maybe that'll be the case. I don't know. But this is all speculation. So I just hope that, but when it's all said and done, this show kind of goes down, without too many blemishes or any filler or anything like that, because I really like that first season. Let's see. Speaking of shows that should end, HBO says Euphoria season 3 is expected to be the final season. Personally, I'm shocked. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, like, these are supposed to, I don't watch this show, but apparently there's like high school age kids, and the cast is starting to age out of high school age. Let's just put it that way. Perp Minded says, I need more horror vibes in season 2. It's kind of lacking in the first season. Wasn't blown away. Yeah, they kind of had like sprinkles of it here and there, especially in that first episode. I'm thinking in particular of this one shot where there's like one of the I forget, they're like they're called infected, I guess. But there's like this infected, I think it's like the grandma, and she's like in the background, and you kind of see her like twitching out, but it's like out of focus, like that. And there was no like musical sting or any like jump scare associated with it. It was just strictly visual, and I thought that was really effective. But they kind of strayed away from that a little bit. It was a little unfocused across the whole show. So yeah, I definitely would like more horror vibes. Yeah, I remember I played the first Last. I'm assuming you're mean Last of Us. I played that first one on the PS3, and I really enjoyed it. Really great story. And now that I have a PS5, I need to get around to playing the second one. Yeah, never. It's not for me. I'm just not. I'm not really the target demographic. You seem pretty spot on though. It's like edgy Degrassi. Yeah. So I think everyone will be. I don't want to. I mean, that's not accurate. I think this show just needs to end because I feel like all the cast members have kind of progressed beyond the point of feeling like you know they need to do it. I don't know if I'm really articulating that well, but all the cast members of the show are way more successful now and more recognizable than they were when the show came out. So I would like to. I'd wager a guess that they're all probably ready to just be done. Yeah, no, that is true. So like they'll have to address that as well. Like this show just needs like it. This show just needs to end. For a lot of reasons. No offense if anyone's a Euphoria fan out there. All right, so this is the big headline of the show tonight. The one that is in the title and everything. So Linda Cardellini is in talks to star in the Friday the 13th prequel series for Crystal Lake from A24 and Peacock. Obviously, it's not stated here. Maybe it's more in depth in the actual article, but obviously the assumption here is that she would play Pamela Voorhees, right? And I like this casting. I do. I think she's like the right age. I really like Linda Cardellini in general. So the question is, this thing was announced a while ago. When was this announced? When was Crystal Lake series? When was this announced? Because I need to know. 2022. October 2022. And if that show was announced in 2022, if you asked me when I thought the show would be out relative to its announced date, I would say, oh, it would probably be out by 2024, 2025. And now it's not looking to be out until 2026 because there's been turmoil with this production. Originally, it was going to be, the showrunner was going to be Brian Fuller, I believe is his name, who did Hannibal, which is a show that a lot of people really dig. It's pretty acclaimed. I haven't seen it. So he was going to be the showrunner. But apparently A24 wanted to take it in a different direction than Brian Fuller did, and he left from creative differences, and they might have replaced him. I'm not sure. But I believe that's been the main hang-up. That's been the main thing kind of derailing this. So, and when this was announced, the fact that it's A24 doing Friday the 13th was kind of surprising to people because they don't really seem stylistically to be all that in line with each other. Friday the 13th is very like, B-movie slasher. It's not really elevated in any sense. And A24 is known for being, I don't really know if I like the term elevated horror, but that's sort of what they are associated with. So it's not, I'm still excited. I'm a super big Friday the 13th fan. I will be watching the show whenever it comes out. But it makes me wonder what the direction that A24 wants to take it in is and why Brian Fuller didn't agree with that. So yeah, this whole thing is just one big question mark. I have no idea. Like, I like this choice a lot. Perp minded. I like this. I like it as well. Yeah. See, like, we have no information. Like, we just have no idea. I'm going to assume that it's set in the 60s. I'm assuming that the intention here is for it to be canonical with the films. So everything's going to be, setting up for what happens in that first movie. That's my assumption. Um, if that's the case, then it would have to be like in the 60s, right? um, yeah, that's my assumption. But I'm excited, man. I would like just more Friday the 13th content in general. God knows we haven't gotten anything since 2009, film or media wise, anyway, like film and TV. But with that being said, I don't like if you asked me if I would rather have like this prequel series focusing on Pamela Voorhees, and apparently we are supposed to get Jason as well. We're supposed to get Jason at some point, which is also confusing to people because if that's the case, like, how does that work? Because we see the introduction of Jason in that first movie, right? So it's just the whole thing's very messy, and no one really knows what's going on. So yeah, but anyway, that's what I was saying. If you'd asked me if I'd rather have this or just a straight up new movie, be it a remake, a reboot, legacy sequel, fucking anything, I would say a movie. Like, I just want to see Friday the 13th movie in the theaters. Like, the idea of sitting down on my couch and watching a show on Peacock that, you know, is could possibly be just another sort of like and not that there's anything necessarily wrong with this, but if I don't want just another like Bates Motel kind of like prequel sort of thing, because the break has been so long. We haven't gotten anything since 2009, like I said. So the thing to come back from that being this doesn't make me excited. As a diehard Friday the 13th fan, that does not excite me. But I'll watch it because what am I going to do? Not watch it? I mean, come on. But anyway, moving on. Let's see. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power has officially been renewed for season 3. Take place several years after season 2 and include Sauron beginning to craft the iconic One Ring. Has anyone watched this show? I have not. Yeah, I'm kind of with this guy Ian here. What are people saying? No, that's not how that works. So, like, I really like the Lord of the Rings films, but I wouldn't consider myself a Lord of the Rings, like, aficionado. I've not read the Silmarillion. I haven't read the books for that matter, but I enjoy the movies. The fandom seems pretty split. It seems to be pretty dismissive of Lord of the Rings lore, this show. And pretty sure the first season is like famously the most expensive series of television ever produced. And I'm surprised this thing has gotten. I mean, it's an Amazon, so like it's an Amazon series, so I think they just have like unlimited money. So I'm not surprised that this has gotten season 3, but like it's just not as big in the zeitgeist, at least from my perspective, as Amazon would probably like it to be relative to how much it costs to produce, if that makes any sense. But yeah, if you're a fan of the show, you got season 3 coming. Go ahead and pause this because I don't want to watch this trailer. Jesus, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is just an outlandish amount of money. Yeah, I mean, whether it's $1 billion or half a billion, that's still just outrageous. We have a new trailer for a movie called Borderline, a thriller starring Samara Weaving and Ray Nicholson, son of Jack Nicholson. He was previously in Smile 2 last year. The film follows a pop star who is kidnapped by an obsessive fan who believes they are meant to get married. So there's been a lot of like pop star stuff in movies. Obviously, I just mentioned Smile 2. It's about a pop star. Trap, and my Shyamalan movie focused around a pop star. So pop stars in harrowing situations is now a genre unto itself, apparently. So this could be cool. I like Samara Weaving a lot. Jury's out on Ray Nicholson. Not sure if he's just like another Nepo baby or if he's actually talented. I don't have enough of a sample size to make that assessment. So, but I'll probably check this one out. March 14th. So that's not too far from now. Moving right along. Robert Pattinson says Batman 2 will begin filming at the end of the year. Yeah, Tyler says maybe closer to $1 billion, including marketing costs. Yeah, I don't. Good point. I don't know if that's because usually with movies it's like a 2.5x multiplier, and that's how you get your total budget. Like you take the budget and then you multiply that 2.5 times, and that's what the marketing is. I think my math might be wonky there, but the point is the weird thing about this too is this isn't like a movie where you have like observable figures as far as like what this took in. Like I don't know how this works with streaming shows where excuse me. Like how do they factor in how many hours watched these things get? Like okay, but then how does that correlate to like financial gain? Like is it the amount of people creating Amazon Prime accounts? Everyone has an Amazon Prime account anyway. Like I don't understand how these things make money. I really don't. Oh my god, 250 million just for the rights is ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. Yeah, I just don't. I'm not the arbiter of what is and isn't popular, but I have my finger on the pulse of, a good amount of stuff. And like I just don't think this Rings of Power show is anywhere near popular enough to warrant all of that money. Like it almost feels like Amazon was like, well, Lord of the Rings is one of the most recognizable IP ever. So like obviously if we just dump a ton of money into this, then it'll be successful, right? And I just don't think that that's been the case. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, I need Batman 2 expeditiously. I need that shit really, like really, really soon. But we're not getting it till like 2027, which is an egregious wait, in my opinion. Like, I really hate the fact that this is taking so long. The first one was 2022, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, just hate that we had to wait this long. But hopefully it'll be dope. So maybe it'll be worth the wait. Hopefully it's worth the wait. I have no reason to think it won't be. Just the fact that I have to wait so long though is upsetting. Excuse me. Jesus. So we're getting this Clayface movie for DC. Casting process has begun, but here we have the directors who are in line to direct this thing, which is Jeff Wadlow or Waldo, excuse me. Is it Waldo or Waldo? I don't know. That might be a typo. Who did Truth or Dare, which is an objectively bad film. It just is. Or James Watkins, who did Speak No Evil. I'm assuming that's the American version, which I actually heard was not terrible. So, okay. Okay. All right, well, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, obviously based on this, if I had it my way, I would choose to never watch another movie directed by the director of Truth or Dare again, which maybe is unfair, and maybe he could potentially make something better than that. But my first instinct is to assume that he probably will not. So I'm excited for this Clayface movie and just the future of like DC movies in general, and just sort of the approach that they seem to be going in seems very promising. And the fact that they're giving an opportunity to do a Clayface movie speaks a lot to like the direction they're trying to go in. Where like before in the old DC, I don't think they ever would have, spared the time and the resources for something like like Clayface. So yeah, hopefully that takes shape and we get a good Clayface movie. So I feel like I talk about something like this every week, where an actor that I really like is being considered by Marvel for a role that will, be like a 10-year commitment. And we're seeing it now with Margaret Qualley being eyed as Rogue for the X-Men reboot. This is just a rumor. This isn't like confirmed or anything. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to try to stay like subjective about this because it's very possible that Marvel could like do an entire 180 and really start like onto a real hot streak and really start to crank out like really dope shit. And if in that reality, then yeah, I would love it if people like Coleman Domingo and Margaret Qualley and Harris Dickinson, who we talked about a week or 2 weeks ago, joined the MCU. But that's under the assumption that they're making dope shit again. In my opinion, I'm not the arbiter of what is and isn't dope, but there has been an observable drop in quality in Marvel films. I don't think anyone can really argue that. So with all that being said, this is like a coin flip. Again, it's just a rumor. If Marvel can kind of get their shit together and get back on track and start focusing on the things that really made them great, then this could be dope. But personally, I would like to see Margaret Qualley do more things like The Substance and things like Poor Things and Sanctuary and things like that. But this is very much a wait and see thing. We really don't have enough to go on right now. So let's see. I thought this was funny. I actually tweeted about this. They basically told Sing Sing to hold their beer because The Monkey will be the first film available to screen in churches across the U.S. simultaneously with theaters, where Sing Sing just did something similar where they released in prisons so that like inmates could see the film. And I don't understand the connection to the church. I guess I'll have to see the movie to understand. But it doesn't seem like a movie that has like a church like sub theme or whatever. Dude, I'm super excited too. But it's looking like we're gonna get a ton of snow like the night before this movie comes out. So I may or may not even be able to go see it. So we'll see. That would suck, especially considering this movie had early access screenings in like certain AMCs. Like people could have seen this on the 10th of this month, which I'm super jealous about. And I'm having to wait like an extra 10 days. And on top of that, I might not be able to see it because of the snow. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm very excited for The Monkey. We talked about this movie on prior episodes. New Sam Raimi, Send Help, releasing January 30th, 2026. Damn, this is a ways away, but it is coming. This log line is very enticing to me because I love both of these movies. Described as Misery Meets Castaway, Rachel McAdams, Dylan O'Brien. I don't know who Dennis Haysbert is, but I'm sure he's cool. So, I'm excited. I'm excited for a new Raimi horror thriller. So, yeah. This might even be filming right now. I'm not 100% sure. Getting towards the end here, folks. So Guillermo del Toro's Net Frankenstein at Netflix will be getting a bespoke qualifying run. What does that mean? Does that mean that they talked about it before and they're now doing it? I agree with that. So yeah, I'm very happy that this is getting a theatrical run of any sort. Because I'm sure this deserves it, and it will be a beautiful movie that I want to see on a big screen. And hopefully, this sort of like can be a foot in the door that can get the ball rolling for things like this when it comes to Netflix specifically, because they seem to be the ones who don't like doing this, but I think they've just faced so much pushback from so many prestige directors that they kind of feel like they have no choice. And I think it helps them for awards consideration, because I do think you need to have theatrical distribution of some kind, even at the smallest level, in order to be considered for the Oscars. I might be mistaken about that, but I do think that could be the case. In which case, Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein is very likely to pick up at least a handful of nominations at the Oscars across various categories. So I think this is something that they want to get in front of as many eyes as possible. So hopefully this comes to an area near me, and I don't have to travel to New York to see it. But we'll see. Oh god, I totally forgot. I got to start bunching this stuff together. But this stuff kind of rolls out across the course of a week. But anyway, Corey Hawkins has joined the cast of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And I was not familiar with Corey Hawkins until Last Voyage of the Demeter from 2 years ago, I think. But I'm excited. I like him. I liked him in that movie. And yeah, it's just one more person in the huge cast of The Odyssey. So I'm excited for that. And then our last article of the night, nothing too huge, but Sophie Thatcher is in talks to star as Mrs. Smith opposite Mark. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but it's the guy from Anora, the Russian boyfriend character, as Mr. Smith in Mr. and Mrs. Smith season 2. So I'm assuming that this show is going to be like an anthology of some sort where Mr. and Mrs. Smith changes from season to season. I haven't watched the first one. I think that was like Stephen Yeun was in that, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Sophie Thatcher's having she's having a moment. She's super popular. She's super popular right now. We need a Marvel versus Capcom for the Odyssey and Screamcast. Dude, I love the way your brain works. That would be awesome. I want to fight Mia Goth as as Matthew Lillard. I don't know. There's some great potential matchups from that. But yeah, it's cool because this Mark character was very good in Anora, so I'm glad to see that he's going to be getting more roles based on his performance in that movie. And yeah, as I said, Sophie Thatcher is very much on the come up right now. So look forward to seeing her in more things very soon. And that's it, guys. That is this episode of the Dispatch. Some decent headlines. I'm mostly excited about the. Hopefully, we start getting more news about the Crystal Lake show. Hopefully, that Linda Cardellini thing will start to be the thing that triggers the floodgates on that one to open, and we can maybe with her being cast, that'll start to get the ball rolling a little bit more, and that'll start getting things more streamlined. Apparently, they did settle that lawsuit, but you wouldn't know it because we still we have nothing as far as like a movie coming out yet or anything like that. The only thing we've heard about is that TV show. So But all right, guys, that's been the dispatch for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Tune in every Sunday. We do this every Sunday night. And yeah, with that being said, guys, please take care and watch more